Hey guys, it's Bastian time. Welcome to this episode of This Week in Zelda News Silly Hair Edition. I'm wearing my fancy new Zelda shirt that is slightly smaller than I was anticipating, but oh well. Anyways, let's get to that first story. So first up is a brand new Professor Layton game that's come out recently that actually has a Zelda reference in it, which is pretty cool. In the course of the game, you collect these three ocarinas, and each of the ocarinas, first of all, they're color coordinated, sort of, to the appropriate Zelda colors, but then the descriptions in each of them sound very Zelda-like, which is kind of interesting, so that clearly can't be an accident, and props to the Professor Layton team for going ahead and paying homage to Zelda. Our next story is about a video parody of the Ganon Style video. It's practically a shot-for-shot remake, and in the interest of full disclosure, the creator of the video did contact me back when he was just working on the song version. Just wanted to get my take on it to see if he was going in the right direction or whatever, and it sounded great to me, so he got my approval. So anyways, I think it's a pretty humorous video. Definitely going to want to check this out. There'll be a link for you down below. So it turns out, back during Majora's Mask's development, there was an interview conducted with the development team, and that interview, of course, was in Japanese only, and only was recently translated by fan translator GlitterBerri. So we finally can read all of those details about Majora's Mask that we didn't know. Things like they really, back when they were developing it, didn't really have a very structured idea of what the game was going to be. It was sort of 9 completely different groups that each had their own director, sort of working on individual pieces of this puzzle, and then they would all meet and sort of try to figure out how to fit all those pieces together to make an actual game. So anyways, fascinating read. If you want to take a look at that, there'll be a link for you down below. And next up are 2 stories about 2 different Kickstarter projects. The first one is pretty awesome sounding. I wish I had something like this when I was a kid. It's called ParkQuest, and what this is an app that would allow you to go to your local park and use this app, and it would have sort of like a map of your park, and you'd be able to use it like a map in a Zelda game. You'd be able to see where you'd be able to see where enemies are, treasure chests and such. So you'd go, it would sort of use GPS to sort of track you, and you'd go to where it says there's a treasure chest and sort of open up the treasure chest on the app, and then get whatever item that is, and then you would be able to sort of use that item to retrieve rupees or, things along those lines. So that's a really fascinating idea. Again, it is just a Kickstarter sort of project at this point, so no idea yet if they're going to reach their goal funding, but it sounds pretty awesome. So you definitely want to take a look at the sort of video that shows exactly how this works. There'll be a link for you down below. And then the other Kickstarter thing is another app, and this is sort of directly related to walkthroughs for Zelda games. So basically what this app would do is allow you to take a picture. If you get stuck in a game or something, you could then just take a picture with your phone, and then that would create an image of where you are in that game, and you'd be able to use the app. The app would recognize where you are in the game, and then direct you to that specific point in the walkthrough. This is an awesome idea, and I can't believe that nobody has come up with it before this. I can't believe this app doesn't already exist, because in the very few rare instances where I really needed to use a walkthrough, it was just such a pain to try to figure out where exactly I was stuck in this walkthrough, because you don't want to read too far ahead and then accidentally spoil yourself on future events or plot points. So anyways, this sounds like a great idea. But again, both of those are Kickstarter projects, so whether they reach their funding or not remains to be seen. But if you want to fund them, there'll be a link for you down below. a pretty awesome video. It's basically sort of covering the whole Zelda timeline and sort of goes in depth about how the Zelda game's stories have evolved over time. It has a lot of amazing visuals that they have created from scratch in a lot of instances, so you'll just want to watch this just for the visual treats of it all. Even if you already know the ins and outs of the timeline, it's still awesome to look at. The website GamesRadar put together 11 or so items of things that they want in Zelda Wii U. And a lot of their items were just plain common sense, things like using the gamepad or coming out soon or things. Some of their things were just nonsensical, and I don't think they were really working too hard on this list, to be honest with you, because one of the things was that they missed playing as Child Link in recent games, and rather than saying that they would just want the next Zelda games to focus solely on Child Link again, they insisted that they wanted a game that had both Child and Adult Link in it, and that's already happened. That was Ocarina of Time. Nintendo is known for not really recycling those kinds of things too much. Zelda games, as Nintendo develops them, usually do use the two worlds idea. So like in A Link to the Past, there was the light world and the dark world. In Ocarina of Time, there was the child world and the adult world. In Minish Cap, there was the Minish world and the regular sized world. In Skyward Sword, you could even argue that there was the Siren Realm, Silent Realm. I forget which is the official Nintendo of America translation. Anyways, there was, I think, Siren Realm. There was the Siren Realm and then the regular realm. And, I don't know, they do use those two world ideas, but they never reuse them. I don't think we're ever going to get another Zelda game that has Child Link and Adult Link in it, unless... And to give them credit, GamesRadar did point this out, that there could be a Zelda game where you follow Link chronologically from child to adulthood, like in Fable or something like that. That'd be pretty interesting. So, but I really don't see them doing that. That's not very Zelda-like. So, anyways, interesting list. If you want to check out their other unusual items, there's a link for you down below. This is a beautiful art piece by MC Escher, and it's called Another World. And those of us who've played Twilight Princess might take a look at this and think, wait a minute, those duck figures look awfully familiar. And so Did You Know Gaming points out that they feel that the Zelda team was definitely inspired by this when they created the Uka, and even the scene in City in the Sky in Twilight Princess where the Uka are walking alongside the walls, like these duck figures are doing in this piece of art. So anyways, that's fascinating. I wouldn't put it past Nintendo. I mean, they certainly were talking about how for the development of Skyward Sword, they were looking at various Impressionist painters. Wouldn't surprise me if they were looking at MC Escher paintings, or I guess this isn't really a painting, but a drawing or something. But anyways, it's kind of interesting to see whether you think Nintendo was inspired by this or not. So let me know in the comments. The Gold Nunchuck. Now, last week I talked about how it was finally back, and basically right after that video aired, it was no longer available because every single person who didn't have a gold nunchuck went and tried to get their gold nunchuck. So it's out of stock again, but don't worry, Nintendo has said that in early 2003 it'll be back in stock. So if you still didn't get it after these 2 rounds of its availability, there'll be a 3rd round of its availability in early 2013. Hyrule Historia, it's been announced that there will be a limited collector's edition, but unfortunately it is very limited. It's only limited to 4,000 copies. So what's so different about this version, which by the way is $70, as opposed to the other version, the standard version? Well, it has a faux leather cover, so it's not actual leather, but it's meant to feel and look like leather. And it's got gold lettering on the cover, and then gold on the edges of the pages. So it's super fancy, but I'm not really sure that justifies the difference in price. What is slightly upsetting is that most retailers that did have this up for pre-order are already out of stock. So if you wanted the super fancy collector's edition, unless you've already pre-ordered it, sorry, you're out of luck. So that's it for this episode of This Week in Zelda News. Tomorrow is the This Week in Nintendo News episode, and I'll see you then. Bye! So it turns out that back during Majora's Mask's development, there was an interview. This floor is so sweet.